Yeah, like that. Hi, guys. I'm doing a podcast from Georgia. It's Kaka.
Hi, guys.
Kaka is like my guy for many years in Georgia. We're in San Magrelo. This is Joseph Soso. He's our new field worker here, bro.
Howdy.
To see. Oh, let's do that like that. We're cooler like that. Yeah. So I wanted to say hi for these guys. Now I'm going to go do my podcast. What do you think?
Как идея? Uzo is this.
Shingai.
Yeah.
Okay. We're in Georgia. We're recording. And right now, I want to talk about what I saw as I went to the ARC conference as a guy who's a guest and artist of the table, the super table. And also, we do this. We send people to go and live in communities like this small little village that's losing all of its men to the globalism of the world capital markets. And what we try to do is allow local people to facilitate great ideas. Or actually, we facilitate and bring them closer to resources so they can stay in their villages and so they can do really creative entrepreneurial things. That's First Things Foundation. I think that's why I exist on the internet. Today, in Georgia, I've been blessed by you guys and others who have donated to be able to be here for the installation of Joseph, who you just met. Joseph is now living in this teeny village. We have 3 others, and we send people around the world. We've got some in Sierra Leone, some in Mozambique, some in Guatemala, altogether 12 of us. And then some full-time guys supporting them. And so our work gives us insights. Today, I want to talk about this trip I've been on to London for ARC. And I visited my friend Paul Kingsnorth in Ireland after ARC. He has a particular position on ARC. And we sat and talked about it and had a nice drink or two. And then I'm here in Georgia. And Georgia has illumined even more some of the thoughts that I have regarding this world we live in, and ARC and its Alliance for Responsible Citizenship, which is on some level an attempt to regain Western society. So I'll keep it short, but here's what I saw for what it's worth. I think ARC is basically an attempt to reclaim Western society, to reclaim Jesus stuff, and probably to reclaim power and authority. And I think the key is to understand the reclamation project, right? Douglas Murray at the event that I attended, and I want to give thanks, by the way, to Jonathan, to Neil, John Tepejo, Neil deGrade, and all these artists that allowed me to be a part of this moment. I was invited by them, which allowed me to come. And so, and like sit in the VIP, I was in the gold room. Yeah, right there with Douglas Murray and these guys. And so basically, what Murray kept calling it was reconstructionists. It was a meeting of reconstructionists. So regaining who we were. And he kind of went on about the IDF and courage of the American unicorns, entrepreneurial unicorns. And I don't know. I mean, that part of the event where technologists were talking about ways to harness technology to make things better. I don't know. The people we work with, the technology is important, but only because ARC people, ARC types, World Economic Forum types keep making it important. And so the question is do we have to keep making it important? I'm of the mind where, sometimes you can say no. And you can just be like, nah, I'm good. I don't know that anybody's capable of that, which is pretty interesting. I don't know if the human will is ascetic enough in the West. You could argue that the reason we have what we have in the West is because we lost asceticism, if we ever had it. in the West. So those are some thoughts on that. The Whole Foods guy was there. I forget his name. I don't have to know all the names, do I? Are you guys mad if I don't know all the names? I don't take notes like that. I'm too old. But he said capitalism is the greatest thing humanity has ever done. That's a direct quote. I might argue this. I might argue that the church I was in on Forgiveness Sunday, this little Georgian church in Keta, this little village in Samagrelo, sort of like the backward part of Georgia, that church built 400 years ago is a better testimony to the greatest thing humanity has ever done. Yeah, I'm dead serious. Like Whole Foods guy, he showed a graph called the Great Enrichment. And like what I concluded was something like Westerners, we're like hella rich. And I don't know. There was an AI specialist, Brandon McCord. He's a cool dude. He talked about AI. He used this words: our patron saints of keeping us on track with AI. This is a direct quote: are J.S. Mill and Socrates. Okay, I'm cool. I'm cool with having J.S. Mill, the utilitarian, as our patron saint of protecting us from AI. You see, I'm kind of not being fair by cherry picking. There were a ton of Jesus voices. So let me give you some Jesus voices. I don't even have all the names of the people, but what constantly happened, Bishop Barron spoke. There was a beautiful poem at the end. And people were like, we can't really do this without Jesus. And you could feel that there is a discomfort. Well, I was hanging with the Orthodox people. And so they were like, yeah. And so here's a second thought I had. Which Jesus exactly? I really liked ARC. Walking around, there were good people, mostly in tight blue suits. And I really liked the guys I met in tight blue suits. But tight's kind of I think that's the operative word there. There's a lot of tightness in the sense that we're going to rope things off. We're going to protect ourselves and then also create a really cool roped in place that kept reminding me of where the prodigal son ended up, like roped into a pig pen thing. But I respected the roping part. I get what's happening. You're trying to protect the thing you love. But as a person who, I don't know, keeps getting identified by others as empathetic and open, perhaps it's just a personality disorder I have. As soon as I start roping and controlling, and it's like they keep building a better pig pen. And so the Jesus voices were like trying to fix that. But the problem is the Jesus voices were like, they were like tinny. They felt added on. And I'm not saying the people who spoke on behalf of Jesus, Bishop Barron, are themselves thin and tinny sounding. They sound hearty. But it felt like plastering, but like poorly plastering a house with some Jesus stuff. A lot of this isn't fair. I don't know. I probably sound like a jerk. But what happened was when I got to Ireland, sat down with Paul, and it was just a blessing to be together. He's become kind of a friend of mine through Substack. And he and his wife and his kids, my wife was there. And Paul's take really made sense in the sort of in the wake, the watery wake of ARC there in Ireland, which, you know, Ireland's got their little roads. It feels backwards. And then here's Paul and I talking about, like, laughing a little bit about the attempt to build civilization. And so go listen to his First Things talk. And the good news is the laugh wasn't it was much more about, we were giggling about the ability to do it. And I think that's a cynical take. And I am cynical in a lot of ways about ARC. And I didn't like laughing because I felt guilty sometimes at laughing at people, but it wasn't at people. Everybody there was good. It was something about the scope and the scale. And there was something about the direction. So here's what I mean. Because then I went to Georgia and here I am. And Paul's take that essentially Christians don't build civilization. The civilization in some ways is the thing that we tumbled into because of the fall. His take on that reminded me of Georgia in the sense that the Georgians, and this is, so the third step in my trip was Georgia. And then I got the answers. And here's what Georgia did for me. Well, I realized that now Georgia's no panacea. Okay, it's a messed up place. It got a lot of problems. But what I kept thinking is the reclamation project that Douglas Murray spoke of, the projects that most people were aimed at ARC were about restoring what was something like classical liberal Christianity, classical liberal economics, classical liberal society. That reclamation project, I kind of realized is what Paul and I would sit around and say can't happen, at least not the way they're doing it. And then I realized Georgia was explaining this to me because there's all kinds of degradations here from the West. In other words, the thing that Georgia is constantly being undermined by the thing that ARC often represents. And that's weird because isn't Georgian Western? And then you realize, the weird part is when you're in Georgia, they also complain about the Russians undermining that which they are. And the degradations of Russia also undermine what Georgia is. And so then you start to realize, what are the Georgians doing to be Georgian? And then you start to realize they also are trying to reclaim in the same way ARC is trying to reclaim. And then I realized, what are the Georgians trying to reclaim, though, after the degradations of Soviet, 70 years of Soviet occupation, and now this sort of globalist CIA, KGB on the street, destroying Georgia from the inside in order to protect industrial interests around the world. What are the Georgians trying to reclaim when they stiffen their back? And then I realized they're trying to be what they always were, which is an ascetic, orthodox place, a place that has something like an ascetic backbone. And then I realized this thing. What they're trying to reclaim is their ability to take a punch. And then I thought, wait, the Georgians in history are Georgians because they take a punch, because they are destroyed by Persians and Mongols and Turks and Russians. And you're like, wait a minute, at their core, they're just ascetics. They get invaded and get crucified. And then they resurrect. And then, as Marie, one of my favorites in Tbilisi, told me, and then we get crucified again. She was crying because the Russian men were all coming to avoid the war. And she's like, we can't take these 300,000 young men, but we can't shut the door because if we shut the door, we're not Christians. And she cried and then she said, so we will leave the door open and we will be overrun. And then, she didn't add this, but I do, will be reborn. And so the Georgians in their reclamation project, unlike ARC, have an advantage because the Georgian reclamation project is to accept crucifixion. When you think about it, it's kind of nuts. And I think that brings us back to ARC. The West can only become what it was before if it does the thing it did really well, which is to be Machiavellian, right? To be colonial, to spread its imperial wings, to make sure that the dollar is the default dollar for all people, to be powerful, to claim space, to create individualism and allow it to overrun all other aspects of culture. In other words, America or the West can be America again. We can make America great again if we take and accept the temptation of control. The Georgians could be Georgian again by allowing themselves to do what they always did and be crucified. So I think you get my point. Maybe not. I don't know. Georgia's small and I don't know, but the West, to be the West, has to sort of look like Rome or the British Empire, the American Empire of dollars, the oil empire. You see, and then also Christian. Wait, let me say it. America can be America again. The West can be America. It can be West again if we become like we were. A Roman Empire, a British Empire, an American Empire, and a Christian stuff. Look, I'll end with this. I can't get this out of my head. I keep seeing two minds after Ark. And I think it was really helpful to sit with Paul in that little town in Ireland. There's a littleness that has to be accepted by the West. That's why I think it's got to be destroyed. It has to become little. Because right now, Ark is of two minds, for what it's worth. Despite the fact I loved being there, everybody was kind. So I think both minds are hanging up on a mountain. This is the story I want to tell. And they sit up on a mountain together, the two minds of Ark. And their pal, the devil, sits nearby. And the devil asks, hey guys, you see these kingdoms and all this amazing stuff down below? It can be yours, if you just bow down a little. Just bow down a little. You got this. Ark, two minds of Ark. And the first Ark mind is like, I don't know. The first Ark mind hears this and like takes off his shirt. And he's like buffed and he stands up and he whisks off his pants. And he's got on these, tighty whities that demonstrate his power and authority. His buffed body and like a statue from ancient Greece, he like says, duh, devil, count me in. And then just like that, he launches himself off the cliff, like an Acapulcan cliff diver, like one of these guys. Swan diving into an ocean of cash, but, dollars. And the dollars, like, they swallow him up like a perfect ocean of wonderment of watery cash. And then he emerges all buffed and smiling, and he saunters into like a Martian bar, a bar filled with cool things that we learned how to do once we went to Mars. Like Tang, but way better because we got Tang from the first moon landing. But now we got like Martian stuff because Eric Weinstein got us to go to Mars. And there's like gadgets and stuff. And the bar is super cool. And he takes a shot of bourbon from a Ronald Reagan shot glass. And like the first Ark mind is like, oh, we got this. But the second Ark mind is still sitting up there and is like tie-dye. He's chilling and he's like, hey, Mr. Devil. I'm no dummy. I know what you're after. I know you want me to go down there and assume all this power, but I'm not going to do it, especially if you don't let me wear my tie-dye t-shirt and you don't let me bring these cool stickers. The devil's like, but why would you want the tie-dye shirt and the stickers, Mr. Ark Mind 2? Ark Mind 2 says, because when I get down there, I want everyone to see my t-shirt that reminds them all of who Jesus is. And the devil looks, and sure enough, he's wearing like a t-shirt, tie-dyed, and on the front is Jump Shot Jesus. Maybe Andrew, my editor, will show you Jump Shot Jesus right now. It's a very important icon of Jesus. And Jump Shot Jesus t-shirt is going with me, devil, no matter where I go. And I'll tell you something else that's coming is these stickers. Jesus is my homeboy. I'll never be separated from Jesus. And the devil says, so that's what we're going to do. You're going down with those two. That's what you're going to do? And he's like, that's what I'm going to do, or I'm not going. And the devil says, okay, you can go. And Jump Shot Jesus enters the kingdom and just puts a sticker on everything he could find. And in the end, Those are the two minds of Ark. And I just think it needs a third mind, the one that doesn't go down there somehow. The one that like, yeah, we're good. We don't need all that stuff. We can actually just die and be small. And in the death, we can find the soil necessary for resurrection. And that's all I kept thinking over and over again. The last thing I'll say, there has to be a conversation about what a Christian is and what a church is. Because there's so much Jesus talk, but no church talk. And that's maybe my next screed. So it's weird. I love Dark. I pray to go again. We threw a super that was fun as heck. And it was really rich. And the people sang, and Andrew Gould was there, and Jonathan and his wife, and it was actually not good. It was blessed and wonderful. And that kind of reminds me of it kind of takes all the images of Ark and sort of says, I tell you what, that's got to be the overarching image. It needs to be an artistic expression of true brotherhood in light of Christ and the resurrection. But you knew that already. How? Peace from Georgia. This is our new digs for our new field worker. And soon you're going to be hearing about him speaking Georgian and learning the local scene here and finding local people who want to do amazing things so they can stay here and not go to the city where everybody is going and living in ways that are rough. May it be so. Peace to you from Art. Until we meet again, I hope this uploads. Peace and thank you, everybody who we spent time with in London. And thanks to Paul and thanks to these beautiful Georgians, including Kap. It was crazy. God bless.